Airlines lose over 2 million suitcases per year, and it's infuriating. You've been planning this trip forever. You packed carefully, and now you're standing at the carousel watching everyone get their bag, except for you. And while sometimes lost luggage just happens, there are several things that you can do to avoid this travel nightmare. And so in this video, I'm gonna cover several tips and tricks to prevent lost luggage, what to do in the event your bag is lost or delayed, and most importantly, how to get paid if that happens. But first, why does luggage get lost in the first place? Like, what are the reasons? I got really curious about this, and I found this report of passenger traffic statistics that has baggage mishandling data from basically every airline for an entire year. Now, I won't go through all of these, but here are the top 3 reasons, which make up over 75% of cases. 14% of bags are lost or delayed because of things like ticketing errors. This is when your baggage tag doesn't say the right destination, or like, let's say when you get rebooked to a new flight, but your bag doesn't. Next, at 16% of cases, you've got failure to load. This is when at your origin airport, the bag never even gets on your first flight with you. And finally, the biggest reason by far makes up 46% of cases. It's called transfer mishandling, or more simply, it's when your bag doesn't make it onto a connecting flight. Now, both failure to load and transfer mishandling are impacted by things like staff shortages or tech problems. But one of the biggest reasons is time. In the case of failure to load, it's not arriving to the airport early enough. And in the case of transfer mishandling, it's having too tight of a connection. So when it comes to preventing lost luggage, make sure that if you're checking a bag, you're getting to the airport with plenty of time for that bag to get onto the plane. And on multi-leg journeys, that your layovers aren't too tight. A good rule of thumb for connections is 1 to 2 hours for domestic flights and 2 to 3 for international. Itineraries that are super complicated or have multiple carriers are a red flag for sure. If you're taking a complicated itinerary or one where you've made a bunch of separate bookings with different carriers, you may honestly just want to carry on. In regards to ticketing errors, there are a couple of things that you should always do. The first is remove any old luggage tags and stickers that are on your bag. And I find that airport staff is usually pretty good about this, but just make sure that it happens. The second is to read the new labels that are printed out and put on your bag and just make sure everything matches up with your itinerary. If you've gotten value out of this video so far, I would love it if you hit that like button so that YouTube knows to suggest it to other travelers like you. Thank you. Here are some other things that you should always do, and frankly, I do them whether I'm checking a bag or not. Number 1, and it's not even close, get something like an air tag that you can track your bag with in case it goes missing. Yes, it's legal to put these in your luggage, checked or carry on, and it makes it extremely easy to know where your bag is at all times. I have one of these in every bag that we travel with. If you're anti-Apple, there are alternatives like the Tile Pro. I've tested several, but so far nothing comes close to the AirTag, in my opinion. Next, keep important things you need in the next 24 hours or so with you. Things like medication. If you're traveling for work, keep that important presentation with you. Things that would suck to buy as soon as you land, right? Essentials like a toothbrush, your phone charger, maybe a fresh pair of undies. Pack all that stuff in your personal item. I'd also think about what you're wearing. On travel days, I pretty much always wear Merino Wool as my base layer because, first of all, you never know what the temp is going to be like on the plane. It could be blazing hot, it could be extremely cold, and it could be both of those on the same flight. Second, and most relevant to this situation, Merino's moisture wicking, odor resistant, and it has this kind of natural recoil, which basically all means you can re-wear it multiple times without having to wash it. And so whether it's a really long travel day or a lost luggage situation where you don't have your fresh clothes, Merino is handy. Now, it's not the cheapest thing out there, but this is one of those areas where I feel you really get what you pay for. My company of choice for the past several years is Unbound Merino, which makes products specifically for travelers. And if you hit the link below, you'll see some of my wife and I's favorite pieces, and you'll also get 10% off your order with the code AWAYTOGETHER. All right, so your flight has landed, you're standing at the carousel, and you're not seeing your bag. What do? Well, first, make sure you're at the right carousel, okay? And if you are, see if any other carousels are spinning and check those out as well. I would also check the Airlines app. Many airlines have apps now that give you updates on the bags and where they're at in the process. Obviously, if you have an AirTag or a tracking device, I would look at that first thing. I've had it happen before where my bag just came off the plane last and we were wondering where it was. It did eventually come to the right carousel and we had to check the AirTag to make sure it was actually there. We just had to wait a while. But if your bag really isn't there, the next step is gonna be to go to the airline's baggage desk. First things first, I would just ask them where your bag is. You'll probably end up filing a claim, but it's also happened to me before that my bag was actually just at the desk or in the baggage office for some reason. If they don't have your bag, you're filing a claim. With the claim, you need to provide as much information as possible. You're gonna give the agent your baggage tag, describe any distinctive features of your bag. The more details you have, the better. And make sure you get a reference number for the claim. That's how you're gonna follow up and track what's happening with your bag, and just make sure that they have the right contact info and delivery address. Do not agree to return to the airport to pick it up. That's on them. They need to deliver it to you. And while you're at the desk, ask the agent exactly what the airline will cover, because if your bag is delayed or the airline lost your bag, they owe you money. Now, most baggage isn't actually lost, it's delayed. Airlines don't usually declare bags lost until 5 to 14 days after your flight. So in the beginning, the money that you're owed is really about covering incidental expenses for essentials and reasonable purchases for things you need, like toiletries or, let's say, a nice shirt for that important business meeting. Airlines policies really vary on this, but they tend to use language like reasonable expenses. And according to the US Department of Transportation, airlines are not allowed to set an arbitrary daily amount for interim expenses like $50 per day. That said, whatever you buy, just make sure it's reasonable and make sure you keep your receipts, because you're gonna have to give proof. If you booked this flight with a credit card, I would also contact your credit card company. Many cards offer baggage delay compensation. Okay, so what if your bag is lost? Once the airline does declare your bag lost, they are required to compensate you, both for the value of the contents and to reimburse you for fees associated with baggage on your flight. They might require receipts to assess the worth of more valuable items you might have packed, but if your luggage is lost, you are entitled to compensation of up to $3,800. So when you're going through that claim process, just be very specific about what you packed. And if you come into a lost luggage situation, just make sure you're not a pushover and get the value that you're actually owed based on what you packed. So what happens to all the bags that are lost? Did you know that there's actually a store that buys all the lost luggage that airlines can't reunite with their owners? This is 100% true, and it's absolutely fascinating to me. I'm actually thinking of taking a little field trip. So if you want me to investigate and go to this store to check it out, comment the word carousel below. And if you want to get better at packing carry-on only so you don't ever have to worry about any of this, check out this video. Thanks so much for watching. Happy travels.